and we're live. We're live. You guys can start.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to CSI Studio, a podcast where we basically hang out with cool people in the world of technology and design and get to know their journey. I am Prayul.
And I'm Kadambri.
We're gonna pretend like we are the podcasters for today. So, and Kadambri here already has a really cool podcast name, Caddy the Paddy. So she's totally perfect for the job.
Thanks, Sans.
So, yeah, Caddy, how many classes have you bunked today to prepare for this podcast?
Isn't it a Sunday today?
No, it's a Monday. You are supposed to go to your classes.
What? I guess I've totally lost track of time making Devspace a success. But ignorance is a bliss. We'll see to it later.
I guess it is going pretty good. So now that you're getting back to the Monday mood, we are here today because we have a really interesting guest with us who will give you guys the Monday motivation that we get from VIT every week on the Insta page, right? We have with us Mr. Punit Chawla.
With the 90K plus subscribers on YouTube and 10K followers on Instagram, he's constantly striving to make design for the masses. And today, he will be joining us to have a conversation with us on design, talk about his journey, and share with us his resourceful bits of knowledge, which you can implement in your designs for the products you come up with in Devspace.
So everyone say hi to Punit, and Punit, please give us an intro about yourself.
Hi guys, thank you all for joining. I know it's nobody really wants to join these things on a Monday evening, but it's cool that you did. So I'm Punit Chawla. I'm one of the founders of Design Wings, which is the UX UI design school. Apart from that, I also create content on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. I've been into UX design for the past 7-8 years. I started when I was in school, so I got a good early start, and then in college I kind of perfected my skills. And I've worked with companies like Fab Hotels and Magic Breaks and PayU to make better products and service a couple of millions of people in India and abroad. Apart from that, I also have experience in freelancing and entrepreneurship, of course, because of Design Wings. And everything else that we do around that. So that's basically what I really do here.
So thanks for that great intro, Puneet. Like before moving on to anything, right? We know that it has the day life of a designer, UI UX designer.
I think you got cut off. Your audio got cut off.
Yeah, can you repeat the question, Prem?
Yeah. So what I was saying is basically, like, it has been a very hectic day for everyone, and I mean, obviously for you also, you must have been busy. So I would like to first thank you for coming up here and
Sure.
making Devspace a more successful event. But as I mean, I'm pretty sure it's everyone who will be listening to this podcast and is watching this stream. Everyone has that one question in their mind: how does the day in the life of a designer, in the life of Punit Chawla, or in the life of a UI UX designer look like? How does your day usually go by? What does your schedule look like?
Yes. So I think it's pretty typical. I think for everyone right now, it's very different. There are some, I think I went to Class Plus's office a couple of days back to talk some good stuff, talk some business with them. And there were a bunch of people who, showed up. There were a bunch of designers there and people like that. And I was really curious to know, how they felt about, coming to the office, etc. And they're like, it's cool, it's whatever. But for a guy like me who, I do everything from my home studio or, working remotely. So I think it's exciting to be able to work wherever I want to. basically. So that's a day in my life basically is very simple. I'm a early waker. So like I wake up at around 6:30 and go for my run or to the gym. And when I come back, I set up my to-do list for the day. I think every designer does that because we have a lot of stuff to get done. It's not a straight thing. Acha, I have to write this code for this. No, it has 10 different things that you need to get done in different spaces. And because I create content and everything, so I need to kind of schedule everything. So I kind of have my iPad just lying around here and just writing everything I can do for that day. Apart from that, for UX UI designers, it generally is it's like a daily catch up because designers often go through sprints. So in sprints you have a daily catch up as well as you need to kind of reach targets every week or every 2 weeks. So you have to be very well organized and you have to communicate very well. You need to create a bunch of documentation for everything that you're doing daily. So I think a lot of people think design is okay, we're creative, so we can do something around this. But apart from that, it's a lot of presentations, it's a lot of documentations, it's a lot of pitching your ideas or pitching any changes that you have. So it's basically a bunch of those things. I do those things as well, but my day is mostly just answering emails, to be honest, and going on video calls and stuff like that. So that's when you mix entrepreneurship with design, it kind of gets a little messy. But I try to stay true to what I like doing. Apart from that, UX UI designers are very hardworking people, but we like to kind of keep mix things that we like doing, our hobbies, etc. throughout the day. We even though we need to sometimes reach deadlines, we need to kind of give things to say our seniors or managers, whatever. But we try to kind of manage everything in that time period. So I think that's something very common with everybody in tech. So late nights, etc. But I think we try to keep everything in sync for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will agree with you on one part.
Yeah, Prehack, sorry to cut you off. Go on.
Yes, I was just saying how I agree with Punit when he said that the only thing good that came out of the pandemic is that we could work remotely from anywhere, and how that sort of helps us to get our creative juices flowing more better. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Yes. So yeah, Carrie, go on.
Yeah, so like moving forward, so like there's been a boom in the recent years, and everyone is now constantly hearing the buzzwords like UI, UX, and product design, etc., etc. Like the audience we have today, like maybe a few of them would know what UI, UX, and product design is. But if there's someone who does not know what it is, so how would you what is your understanding of UI, UX? What's the difference between the two, and like what is your thinking in point on UI, UX, and product design?
Okay. So a lot of people, so product design is a word which has been driven from something that already existed before UX UI, and that is actual industrial design or actual product design. A lot of people when they type in product design, they might get people designing lamps and chairs, but that's it's the term has just been derived and put into tech to say, okay, this is my product and this is we're designing this product. So UX UI, if I have to explain to someone who's either a beginner or a layman, is user experience design is an umbrella term under which you have things like user research, where you research what kind of users you're targeting for your product or service. You have certain processes under that. You have the design thinking process, which is basically which takes you from a basic idea, a basic concept, to a final product. So user experience is understanding what users, how users interact with your product or service. and how can a certain business sell their product or service in a way that the user finds it easy to use or easy to do. So if, for example, the user experience of Amazon is basically going from searching a product to actually buying that product. So that is, the whole, it encapsulates the whole experience and journey of the user from point A to point B. So user experience is basically making that journey easier, allowing them to interact with your product easier, as well as to whatever the goals the users have, to complete that goal in the shortest time period and in the easiest way possible. User interface design, again, is, I'd say it's one of those subsets of user experience, where once all the research, once all the, all the ideation, all the data has been collected, everything has been done, someone who is an expert at UI will basically take a basic wireframe, which the UX team created. For people who don't know what a wireframe is like a blueprint of how the application might look, often drawn on a sheet of paper, just very casual approach. But apart from that, it's, user interface design is basically visualizing everything that the UX team has brought up, all the data, all the information, all the content, putting it out in a way that it looks pleasing to the eyes. Apart from that, it's people are used to certain things. So, for example, you open Instagram and you want to post something. If they change the way you post on Instagram, you'll find it confusing at first, of course. So most companies you'll see will follow, posting on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything has that one little plus icon, and that's now the industrial standard. So UI designer will understand and know how someone behaves or treats a certain, interface. So that is what user interface design is. It also includes, creating your final prototype. So that is basically the UX UI design process, so as to say. Design thinking is something that we use as a set of steps and procedures. Basically, that's all people really need to know. Apart from that, the difference is very clearly simple. UX is more understanding the user, collecting data and information, and trying to create an interface which will cater to that. And UI is more visual. It's more interactive. It's more physical. So it's not something where you're researching too much or you're trying to understand the user too much. So again, both of them come under the same umbrella. If you say UX design, it mainly means both of them.
Yeah, I feel like you clearly explained what UI UX is. For people who had like a little doubt, that would be clear, I'm pretty sure. Adding to that, I think nowadays we hear the word product designer a lot. There's so many openings in so many companies with this position, product designer. So how would you explain what is UI UX and product design is the same thing? I've talked to and met a lot of people who think it's the same thing. Do you what's your point on it, and what would you
So product, it totally depends on what the company thinks product design is. So if you go to a startup, they won't be able to differentiate. Most companies who have knowledge of design will be able to differentiate. For example, when I was working with Fab Hotels, there was a guy who was a product designer who had the exact same role as I had, and I was a UX designer. So a lot of companies might not differentiate, but in its true form, in its true essence, product designer is everything that a UX UI designer does or a UX designer does. But upon that, over that, there is, he understands the business much better. So I'd say product designer is like a good segue between a product manager and a UX designer, because the data, the information the product manager goes through, oftentimes product designers will be involved in those meetings. They are shaping the idea a little more as compared to a UX designer. They're more involved in the technical aspect, the product conceptualization process as compared to, say, a UX designer. So a product designer will definitely know a thing or two more about the product, how certain data or information can affect the product in a long term, and can then also implement the design moving forward. So that's basically what a product designer truly does. And product designer can be in any context. So product designer for service will be someone who's into service design, so he'll have knowledge of those areas as well. So product designer is definitely a more well-rounded guy with a little more knowledge of data and statistics and things like that. But he's not an expert at those things. He's not focused on those things, but he does have a little more knowledge, and he's often a larger part of the product life cycle, so as to say.
Yeah, I think all of our listeners and audience would now know the difference between UX and a product design the next time they hear it. So that's really great. Moving on, you mentioned that you have an experience in this field since the past 7 years. You started in school and then you went on college and now you're here. So what advice would you have for people who are, starting out in designing, and how can they start out in this field?
So a lot of people, they just dive right into it, not understanding there's always a starting point to something. So I say a lot of people these days, when they dive right into it, the negative thing is that they don't even get to know the basics very well. So for anybody who's listening who wants to get into the field, the best thing is just take one weekend off, not do anything, and just search for fundamentals of UX design on YouTube, on Udemy, Udacity, wherever you can go, and just search for fundamentals of UX design or fundamentals of UI design. Just study that for a weekend. That will give you a better idea of everything that it consists of, all the constituents. Apart from that, you'll get to know whether you're passionate about it or not. UX UI is not a field somebody should come because they have a degree in it, or there's we're earning this much money. Because if you're coming into it thinking of, okay, there's a high demand, there is more money in it, there's more scope in it, whatever you're thinking of, 1 year, I give you 1 year, you'll get super bored of it, because it's a very specialized creative field. It's not for anybody who just gets up and tries to get a degree and then gets a job. It's not development. I'm sorry to say that, but it's not like you learn a new language and you start coding and man bhar gaya to you learn another language and then you start doing that in some other company. UX is, once you do UX, you're into it. So take some time off just to understand the fundamentals and basics. Once you do, then you move on to create mock projects. So even in coding and development, there's you create mock websites or mock applications. You create mock case studies, and what case studies is just it's a glorified name for presenting your research and your designs. So once you have one or two little projects that you've done, you can always move on to, I suggest people to move on to either working for a small startup or start freelancing, especially if you're in college. Because that will give you a heads up. That'll give you a head start as compared to somebody who's, who will start after they finish college, So the earlier you start, the better it is, because it's a competitive field for sure. Apart from that, you should definitely look into, generalizing first and then specializing. A lot of people, they get bored of research and they might just focus on UI or UX. So just learn everything, the entire spectrum of UX UI, just learn everything first. and then focus on specializing in that one zone or one area. So for example, for me, it was UI design, and I focused on UI design and visual design most of my life. Even though I could do UX research, I could do UX design, I could do testing if needed, but it wasn't something I was keen on doing every single day. So if somebody is really looking for a long term relationship with UX UI, go for generalizing and then specializing in one of those areas. And even if you look on LinkedIn, there are jobs for each specialization. There's user researcher, there's UI designer, there's visual designer, there's everything that you want. So, whichever area you want to go on later, but generalize as much as you can first.
I think I saw one of your videos on your YouTube channel some time ago, and I think it was along the same lines as how to get started into this field with one of your students, Sonia. I can't recall the name, and I think
so that was one of the mentors at our institute.
Yeah, and I think you gave the same exact advice as to you told on the video that your advice that we take a weekend out and consume as much free content there is, as much free courses, and I did that, and I think it does definitely work, and it sort of gives you a context onto the fundamentals and how to apply them, where to apply them. So I think that is pretty much a great advice. So that is my segue into the next question to you, right? Now you know that access to internet is very much easy nowadays. Anyone could look up, anyone could come find your channel, which is pretty much great, and anyone could look up hundreds of other resources that are there to learn, right? So with this much access of resources, the number of designers is going up and up daily. So, and I think in one of your videos only, you also suggested how to stand out from the crowd. One way to do that is put out your work out there and to create a social media presence, if I'm not wrong. That's one way to stand out from the crowd. So my question to you is how, I'm an individual who does that too, right? I put out my work on social media, but I frequently find myself with the creative block. I cannot come up with new ideas for content or project ideas. So you as a YouTuber, how do you constantly put out so much work, so much these many videos, and how do you come up with new ideas? What's your source of inspiration?
Okay, so first of all, I think I do definitely believe that yes, putting out stuff on social media, having a presence is important, because I personally got a lot of opportunities even when I was beginning YouTube, or before YouTube also, when I was just putting out stuff on Behance and Dribble and CodePen. People used to just approach me for freelancing projects, this, that. So it did give me an understanding of, okay, this is beneficial for sure. But a lot of people aren't interested in it. So I just want to tell people, okay, if you don't want to post stuff on social media, it's okay. You could be totally underground and still have a successful career. But definitely, if you are trying to find ways to build your career, this is one of those useful tips. But apart from that, the other part of the question is how you can, how do you start making content, and how do you keep on doing that? So the first thing is, where personally for me, the content that I post out is stuff that I'm excited about, and I don't care if people, sometimes I make things clickbaity, but I know it's exciting to make things clickbaity because that's how I think. The title isn't what I want people to see, it's what I believe, what I think about it, so I think whatever excites you. So if colors excite you, start making content on color theory or color science, or if UI design excites you, start posting your, a lot of people are doing this daily challenge, start doing that daily challenge just for fun, and posting it on Twitter and stuff like that. There are people who are gaining thousands of followers just doing daily challenges and doing it well. I know people who are doing that and they're gaining thousands of followers on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, just by sharing what they made on that challenge. So that's the difference between you not sharing it and you sharing it. Because out of those 1,000 people, maybe 2 or 3 would be people who would hire you tomorrow, So I think that's the first step, is to whatever excites you, just post it, You don't even have to care about the presentation, you know, and you don't even have to care about where you're posting it. Just post, if you post UI on LinkedIn, it's okay. You don't have to post it on Dribble, you know. So wherever you want to just casually start posting, and whichever areas work for you the most, then go forward there, you know. And then continuously making content does get hard. You know, there's a creative block for sure. I get creative blocks. Sometimes I don't, you know, post stuff for like weeks, and it's okay. But I think as long as you're passionate about what you're doing, the block is only stays for like a week or so maximum. Apart from that, it just goes away. Take time to, you know, kind of spend time with your family or loved ones. Just do things that you love doing, and just forget about design for a week. It's no big deal, you know. So I think that's the easiest way to kind of prevent like a creative block or something. Apart from that, you know, every platform has different, you know, things that work for them. So on Instagram, I feel reels and all are cool, but you cannot deny the fact that carousels do very well as well. So just, you know, try as much, use these as tools, you know, like you explore Figma or Sketch or XD, explore these platforms like tools, you know. So just explore, experiment. You have nothing to lose. You weren't making money out of that anyways. So you're not losing anything. Yeah.
I think
That's
I
that.
resonate with what you said very much. Like you said, just if something excites you, just post about it. Because like when I started out designing, I started out with graphic design, and I wanted to post my stuff on social media, but I had that insecurity. What if it's not good enough? You know, what if people
Yeah.
don't like it? But then I reached a point when I was like, you know what? I like this too much. This is exciting. I'm gonna share it with everyone. Doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's good or bad. And that's how I started with. And I think I relate with you what you said very much. And I think that's a pretty great advice to everyone here. And yeah, so
Yeah, I want to add on to this. Like I myself have had like a design page since like quite a bit time, but
Yeah.
again, like I still feel that kind of insecurity, and I just don't. I feel like I don't know whether I should post it or not. But this has definitely motivated me, and I feel a lot of people, a lot of designers face this, so they would also be really motivated by that. Continuing another question, so we're talking so much about social media presence and all of that, but there the fact that there's so many people already doing it in the industry, how do you think one can like build a brand for themselves in the field right now?
Yeah, so I get what you're saying. So first of all, people should just, you know, this is something that kind of irritates me personally, to be honest, is people start making logos for themselves. And like, who are you? I mean, what is, like, I see a lot of people, you know, like, okay, design this. Like if you're, you know, design Punit, if I named myself design Punit, nobody would have taken me seriously. You know, just use your bloody name and your photo, you know. First of all, don't spend time on branding and logo and type and stuff like that. You know, just use your photo, just use your name, and that's enough. Apart from that, you know, for like an online presence, I think it's very, or anything, is very important to set a like a standard for yourself, you know, in the sense that you need to find a balance between being a perfectionist and being someone who puts a lot of quantity out there, you know, in anything. So I think find that balance where you can say, okay, this is good stuff that I'm doing, and I can do it at a good pace as well. Apart from that, a lot of people these days are worrying about, okay, competition, this, that, but there are very few good designers, if you know what I mean. There are a lot of designers who can design stuff, who have the same skill set as everybody else, but then they aren't able to say communicate what they, you know, they want to say. So for example, you're very skilled at user research, but you can't even tell or communicate well on how you would do research on a certain project. You know, if you're sitting in an interview, they don't care the skills you have, but whether you can explain to them how you'll use those skills. you know. So if you're like someone who's getting into this field, just know that skills are okay, but can you communicate and present those skills to people or not is important, you know. So I think that is like number one, is to make sure that you can communicate stuff. You know, you have, and once you start practicing communication, it just gets easier over time. So apart from that, I think a great thing to look at when you're, you know, trying to differentiate yourself from everyone else is to, in any area, whether it's content creation or finding a job or whatever, is definitely doing something that everybody, or having certain skill sets that everybody else doesn't have. So for example, for me, it was interaction design and micro interaction. So I always loved, uh, you know, I always loved making micro interactions. In first it was XD, then it was Protopie or whatever. So whatever skills you can gather on top of whatever you know. So if you're a UI designer and you can also do 3D, that means you can implement 3D design into your UI, and some companies might really find that fascinating, you know. And or if you're into visual design and uh, you do calligraphy professionally also, so that's like a big deal for companies. They're like, you're so creative, you know. So it adds a lot of value to you as a designer. So value is not added by, like, I just believe value isn't added by what everybody else knows, but what you can specially bring to the table. So if you're a UX designer or a researcher and you've done something in psychology, that is a big plus, you know. Or if you're a UX designer and you have a background in product strategy or product management, then that could also be a big plus. So wherever you can get skills or experience in anything else or anything that is attached to that, then, you know, you're already different from like 10 other people out there. So I think that's really important to kind of figure out for yourself.
So before moving on, I would just like to confess one thing. You said there are some fictitious people who go out there and make logos for themselves. I would say I would like to confess I'm one of those people.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like people do it, and then there are some people who are successful even with that. But all I'm saying is that personally, I believe it just, you know, it's a waste of time. And people, I like to identify other people with their face, not with a logo.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
logos are for businesses because businesses don't have a face. Like, you know, ठीक है, you could put Elon Musk's photo on Tesla ka logo, but that is a company, it's not a person. So for a company, it is necessary to have a logo because then that's the face of the company. But for you yourself as an individual, it's, you know, you are the face of yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I think I realized this like later on when I realized that my logo means nothing. Because if people can't see me, can't connect with me, then it's useless, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, makes sense.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, also, I want to add to one point that you said that there are a lot of designers. They're good at their skills, but they don't know how to communicate and how to put those ideas forward. I think I've also seen this a lot, that when it comes to like UI, UX, especially, the first thing that comes to people's mind is just to learn Figma. Like that's the first thing they ever think about. They want to learn the software. They learn it well, but then when it comes to like the solution and actually implementing it, the design thinking, that's where they lack. And I think that can be a differentiating point for a designer too, from all the ones other there.
I think if you're a designer, you should be able to design on PowerPoint also, you know, like I still belong to like an era of Photoshop designers. Like I started UI design on Photoshop, and that was the only tool then. Like, of course, we had XD come after that, but that was the only tool when I started off, and it was a pain in the ass because everything was so complex, and you had to like open 3 menus to do one thing. So it's cool for photos, etc. But And I know people who've done it on like PowerPoint, designed prototypes on PowerPoint, which is kind of crazy. Who like a couple of years older to me, who started earlier. But that's, I think that's the power of a designer, is that he should be able to sit on any tool and just master it in like 15 minutes. But at the same time, his knowledge should not depend on it, or his experience should not depend on it. So I know a lot of people who are scared to get into Figma after getting into XD, or get into Sketch after getting into Figma, whatever it is. I think it's a piece of cake, everything is the same. And that's what I say when, I talk about passion. Like, tools then become very easy to use because you're already passionate about it, and you can figure things out on your own. People have lost the ability to, figure things out on their own, or जुगाड़ वाला mindset पता नहीं लोग में क्यों नहीं है, but whatever.
Yeah, I think we've had a really great conversation talking about the basics of UI/UX product, how to make your identity, how to stand out. Now we'll be moving on, and we'll be having a session of hot takes with you. So in this segment, we will be asking you your opinions and thoughts on some trending topics and some spicy debates related to the design industry. So my very first question to you is, what's your take on glass morphism? I feel like that's one of the hottest UI trends you've seen. I've seen people who just do glass morphism everywhere. So like, what do you think? Is it like a viable design when it comes to like, a designer needs to think from a development perspective also. It's not just appealing to the eyes. Until and unless your design is developed, it doesn't mean anything, right? So like, what do you think?
Luckily, like, glass morphism is easy to implement from a designer's perspective, from a developer's perspective, because it's just adding background blur and reducing opacity for a card or element or whatever. And be it CSS or be it Java or whatever you're using to Kotlin, whatever you're using, you can implement it everywhere. There's an easy implementation, and it's an old thing. Glass morphism is a trend which was developed from something that already existed. Apple does it on Mac, a little bit. Windows 11 has it. I'm not sure. Android doesn't have it, but iOS has it. So like everywhere you see glass morphism already, existing. Glass morphism, the new glass morphism I think is more a combination of new morphism and glass morphism, is because there's now more shadows and depth and light and stuff like that. I just feel, any trend is good until you understand that there's a difference between a trend which looks good and a trend that adds something to the design, adds value to the designs or whatever. So glass morphism, I feel, is a good visual, it's like a nice thing to look at. You can create banners and stuff, whatever. It's cool, but it's not something you can base your entire design on. And any trend you can't base your entire design on. Cred managed to pull off new morphism, and a lot of people commended them for it, but then there were some people criticizing them for promoting a poor design trend with new morphism. But glass morphism, I think it's cool. I've done a bunch of videos on it, so I can't say shit about it, but definitely, glass morphism is something. It's more graphical than UI design. It's like graphic add kiya. It's like an illustration. You add an illustration to your UI, it looks cool. Glass, you add it looks cool. I think that's that's my take on that. Right?
Yeah, I think like it's more of a visual thing than a UX thing, and I think that's the reason why when like the last year when the glass morphism trend was taking on, we saw so many dribble shots come out with that credit card thing. Everyone
I
was
made a video
one.
on that too. Yeah.
I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed doing it too, but then yeah, I think you pointed out correct that it's more of a visual thing which looks appealing to the eye than a UX thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Plus, plus, like, heads up, most people who are colorblind can't even see that
Yeah.
if it's a glass or not, like
So it's not very
uh,
accessible, right? Yeah.
yeah, not very. I think as long as you keep accessibility,
Mhm.
at the front, and you can still manage to use these trends, then it's cool. I think then it's fine as long as you're keeping that in mind.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think like I agree on you with that. Agree with you on that. And so like my next hot take question, the opinion that I would like to have your opinion on is basically there's this very popular debate in the design industry in the global community about design being a form of art, design being a form of self-expression, and many popular designers in the global community have sort of spoken against the idea because according to them, designing a product, when we design a product as designers, we should give more precedence to what the user wants rather than expressing oneself, right? So I would like to know what's your take on this whole debate, whether design is a form of art or not.
I mean, again, look, you can look at it from any perspective. See, I suck at science, so I can't say it's a science for sure. But definitely, like when we talk about accessibility, so accessibility is definitely a science because that's biology. You're saying, okay, these people cannot see these colors, so we need to cater to them. Or maybe there's somebody who's completely blind, then we need to create verbal communication, add verbal communication inside an app or whatever. So I think every aspect of design cannot be termed as a science. There is, why would we add shadows to, okay, shadows also we can say, okay, it's kind of a science because shadows add depth, and it's a visual thing, it's a scientific thing that light is coming from here. And but an artist would look at a shadow and say, oh, it just adds depth. I mean, they won't have any other perspective to it. But a guy who is more scientific in nature when it comes to something visual, he'll say, oh, the light is coming from this direction and the intensity is this much, and that is why the shadow looks like this. So even with UX, you're looking at psychology. You're like, okay, the user thinks like this when he's doing this, or he has this emotion. So I think it has a mixture of both art and science in a way, because art says, okay, these colors are portray this, or so I think anything can be a science, man. Like this pen could be a science. Oh, this has ink which comes out of a nib which is made out of this metal or whatever. And at the same time, the design, somebody could say, oh, this is a nice design for a pen. So I think when we look at design, we're looking at scientific aspects. We're basically backing things with science, and we're applying art. So like it's both in a way. But most people will just agree, okay, it's just science. But I think it's a mixture of both for sure.
Yeah, I think when you bring in accessibility into the equation and making design semi-science, that adds a very nice angle to the whole debate. So yeah, let's move on to our next question. This is again a very hot debate kind of thing in the industry. Like in the design community, there are like self-taught designers and the degree holders. Do you think like a formal education is important in order to like pursue the career product design? I think even people in both like self-taught and degree holders, this is like a lot of confusion in people's mind about this. Like is in the industry a self-taught designer preferred or a degree holder is preferred? So what is your take on it?
I think when people say, see, if you've already done a degree, then don't rush after another one, I guess. Like if you're a school student and you still, or if you're in your bachelor's and you want to do a master's or you want to do a bachelor's, then go for design if your interest is there. There are a bunch of degrees in a bunch of universities. But apart from that, I just feel it's a very personal thing. There are some people who are willing to take the risk of not getting a degree and just doing everything on their own. And if you have that attitude in general, then it's a good thing. Then you can still succeed. But if you're just trying to be a self-taught designer because paise bach jayenge mere, ya time bach jayega mera, ya fir whatever other excuse you have for not doing a degree or whatever, you're just following everyone else like sheep. So don't do that. Don't become a self-taught designer because other people are doing that also. Only do it if you personally feel it's a cool thing to do, and you'll be able to do it for sure. But I think the value of a designer is not different at all. I know some self-taught designers who have no background in design, who are working at Google, as a UX designer. So many people have this argument that, oh, if you don't have a design degree, you won't be able to get into these larger companies, because Google, companies like Google, etc., they pick a lot of designers from NIFT and NID and other places. They're like they hire a lot of freshers from there. So there's definitely an advantage. If you want to look at it from a perspective of whether there's an advantage or not, there's definitely an advantage. It's a longer course, so every topic is covered very well. You make a lot of designer friends who tomorrow, they can be of benefit because they can help you get into, say, a nice company or whatever it is. So whether you are someone who's looking out for an opportunity at Google or whatever, it can be achieved by being self-taught. So there is no doors that are shut because of being self-taught, but you just have to make the choice and decision कि okay, मुझे degree तो करनी है तो मैं इसमें कर लेता हूँ, या फिर I'm the kind of person who would like to do a degree in this, So it's very personal. It's very up to you, and you just have to remember there is now no difference between someone who's from a degree, no difference in value for sure.
I feel like me and Prayul and all the people who are coming from an engineering background would definitely relate to the thing that you said. Like we've heard so many times that your degree is totally different and what you want to pursue is absolutely different from that. But that answers it pretty well, and I think everyone out there who's maybe starting design would benefit from it.
For sure.
So Punit, are you a self-taught designer or did you formally pursue an education in design?
No, I'm completely self-taught, man. I cannot study for more than 3 years, man. That was all I could do. I mean, wo bhi kar liya, that was enough. I was going to drop out after, I think, 1 year or something. And everybody at home was like, kari raha hai to kar le, pura khatam, whatever. I think that's very typical.
What was your education like? What did you?
It was BSc IT for like 3 years. That was it, man. That was BSc IT is like the lowest. It's like if you strip BTech of all its glory, that is what BSc IT becomes. So that was the easiest
course.
You
went to design. So were you into design when like you were studying BSc IT?
I just had to get a degree, to be honest. And I didn't want to get into honestly, I did not want to get into a design degree as such. One reason would have been because I didn't have a lot of knowledge of what degrees I had to take or whatever. My aim was get the easiest course from the easiest college possible and just focus on my work, because I was doing freelancing and stuff. And if I did, honestly, if I went to a college like NID, I would have no time for my hustle or whatever you want to call it. So I was hustling. So I was like, jo bhi faltu ki degree mil jaye, just le lo. And I didn't even study for the exams because they teach the most basic. They teach C++, and I'm like, yaar, ye to, it's because I used to code before I was into design. I was developing websites and stuff. So it was so easy, and so it went off as a breeze. So bina pade bhi, I got like a 7-point GPA or whatever, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm chill. So for me, it was just like, okay, I just need to pass these 3 years and that's it.
Yeah, I think again, like we are coming from an engineering background, so we can definitely relate to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like we've talked about a lot about design, everything you do, and your knowledge. So like apart from like your content, designing, mentoring people,
Mhm.
what other hobbies do you have, and like how do you spend your free time?
I'm a runner, so I like to, train for that. Unfortunately, I think 2 years back I had a calf injury. So after that, now it's just hard getting back into the 10-20 kilometer zone. But I'm trying, whatever. But apart from that, I love cooking. That's like one of those things that I've loved since I was a kid, because my grandmother was a professional baker, and she taught me a lot of good stuff. So I love doing that still. And probably if I wasn't doing this today, I would have been cooking something. So definitely, that those are one of my hobbies. And apart from that, I love designing. So design, I would say, is definitely a hobby. If I just get to explore something new and do something or create something new, that's a big deal for me. Apart from that, to just pass time, I just watch some reruns of Office and stuff like that, just for fun. That's just when I'm not wanting to do. I don't want to do anything. I just want to relax. That's what I'm probably doing. So yeah, those are a bunch of things I do. I do like to travel and everything, but of course, pandemic here, so I didn't travel that much. But hopefully, I'm going to continue that again.
Yeah, Prayul and I here are both office enthusiasts. So yeah.
Nice, nice. I find a lot of friends enthusiasts, but I wish there were more office enthusiasts for sure.
Yeah, like I
I
personally
have
myself,
spent so much time seeing that show. Yeah,
yeah,
go on.
Yeah.
I personally myself have like I've really tried the same thing as you tried. Like I did pretty marathons like earlier, like 2 3 years back, and I also want to get into the whole running thing, but it's been a month since we've come to offline college, and it's so difficult to manage
Fuck
everything.
college.
And yeah, this is the first time both me and Prerna have come to college, offline college, in 2 years of my college
Yeah.
life. And yeah, yeah, that's about it. Prerna, do you want to continue?
About college, right? I have the same situation as you, man. I don't know what degree I'm doing. I walk into my class and I'm like, why am I doing this? Yeah, I totally get it. But
This is a
because
college event. You know that, right?
I know. Okay, okay. Let's not get into the details because who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like we learned a lot about you today, like how like your thought process and everything, like your opinions and all that. So I want to ask you a very cliched interview question now. So everybody asks, where do you see yourself 10 years into the future? But I would like to ask you, what was Punit Chawla like 10 years ago? And was he right when he predicted the future 10 years ago?
So 10 years ago, 10 years ago, if I look at myself 10 years ago, I would not like to be friends with that guy, to be honest. I was a fit kid all along, but from class 5 to class um, 8 or 9, I was like super fat for some reason. I don't know. So I had to lose all that weight, and I had to like build a personality from scratch, because I was shifting towns and cities ever since I was a kid. So for me, it was, I never really got to explore myself, so as to say. So I had to like build a personality from scratch, and I was a complete dork. Like you wouldn't like to talk to that person for sure. So I had to build a personality. I had to build communication. I had to do things out of my comfort zone, and just become a little more spiritual to be able to connect with myself. But 10 years ago, I was just I had no clue what I was doing, to be honest. I was interested in medicine. I was interested in trading, and I was Like I was on one of those sites where you trade in stocks and you get like $10,000 free or whatever. Like आजकल काफी आ गए हैं ऐसे apps, but उस time there was just one, I don't even remember, Wall Street something करके कोई app था, and app भी नहीं था, website थी. So there I used to like trade in McDonald's stocks and Apple stocks and stuff like that, just for practice. So, you know, I was always ambitious. Like I always wanted to be successful and be rich and be 10 other things, but I had no direction for it for sure. You know, whatever I saw around me that could make me money, I was like, I'll just go into that, to be honest. But then, you know, I started, you know, with playing around with computers and stuff, and I was like, okay, this is fun. So I started getting into that, and I focused on my career and, you know, focused on my fitness and my personality and everything, and just got out of that rut of, you know, and I was in a rich kid school, so everybody was like, if you thought you were rich, there were 10 other students who were like 10x richer than you, and they would flaunt it like crazy. So, you know, if you had a BMW, you could have been in that group, or if you know, so whatever. It was very demotivating to be in that school, because half of the people were always, you know, trying to flaunt shit, and I was like, what kind of kids are you? You know, you can't even have fun properly. So I had a very close group of friends and everything, and you know, काफी loner था मैं school में, apart from those few friends.
I feel like from there to where you are with 90K subscribers on YouTube, such a big name for yourself in the design industry. That's really commendable, and that's really inspiring for all of us. And we hope that you keep growing like you have in the past 10 years. Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
So, like, as Gary said, you keep growing into the future, right? Talking about future, I just had like last few questions of this interview with you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be here having this conversation with you. So, this wasn't in the script, but I want to talk about this with you. So, I mean, like, it's about this new budding tech Web3, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, how the central idea of Web3 being that everything on this is decentralized, and how the power is in the hands of the people, like it isn't centralized or controlled by you know, these
I can't. There's some internet maybe
Yeah,
problem.
I think there's
these big companies or like organizations, and you
Just
know
gonna
how
let him
so
finish, to
Web3
be
is sort
honest.
of decentralized. So yeah. Hello.
Yeah, I think you said the entire sentence and then you realized that, you know. Yeah, so I get your question, I guess.
Prem, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think okay.
Can you try like you can stop your video if that's taking, maybe that'll be better.
1 second. Can you hear me now? I think it's stable now.
Yeah, it's better. It's way better.
Yeah, okay. I have a few issues. So yeah, I'll just finish my question. So what I was gonna ask you is how, you know, Web3 is decentralized and all that stuff, like how it's changing the internet so much. And like, you know, it's gonna change the platforms that come from it. So like how do you think design is going to be affected by this change?
So first of all, I think Web3 is a great concept, even though I'm a Web3 skeptic, to be honest. You know, it's cool and all, but I just feel, you know, let's just imagine everybody's on Web3 tomorrow, you know, in the sense that every you know, every app you use is decentralized. Every website you go onto is decentralized. Then if there is absolutely no control and regulation, everything is just going to be messed up. I mean, you see that with the NFTs and the crypto space. there is a scam every single day. You wanted to create a decentralized space for freedom for people's voice and stuff, but everybody's just using it negatively anyways. So you see multitudes of scams every single day. And if data is decentralized, there is nobody to take guarantee for that decentralized information. There is nobody to take accountability for it. Who does the government go to if there is a leak in the future, or there somebody finds a way to hack into some information? I know it's very 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 difficult to hack into uh, you know um, cryptic information, but it's somebody will find some way in the future. So again, I just feel Web3 in a way is okay, it's cool and all, but design is not really being affected that much by it. It's more the product being affected by it. You have to focus on things like security and explaining to people why that thing is decentralized or how it is affecting their usage. Nobody knows. Like, if you go onto the street and ask them what Web3 is, nobody will know. Maybe 1 out of 50 or 100 people will be able to tell you, because they're into it, mainly. So most of these, most of this technology is more about trying to help people understand it, especially when you look at things like cryptocurrencies and things like Ethereum or Bitcoin. If somebody wants to trade in that, you have to help them understand what it is even. So if you go on to something like Coinbase, they have an entire section where there are courses on trading in crypto. So, like, everything then gets affected because everybody is now not, informed about it. Like, if you want to make a bank transfer, you know how to make a bank transfer. It's just so easy. But crypto, nobody's telling you about, nobody's teaching you, nobody's showing you. So these websites need to make sure that everybody is guided properly. So that's the only challenge I feel, one of the few challenges I feel that designers will face is to create a journey which is easy enough and just natural enough, it'll have a lot of challenges in research and testing, because if you select a group of people and you test it on them, and if a lot of them are technologically advanced, then that test is then worthless, because not everybody getting into it is technologically advanced. There are a lot of people who are like 15-year-olds who are watching Ashish Chanchalani might get into it because he's promoting some crypto platform, So they need to focus on a lot of different people coming into it. Banking apps are only used by 18 plus people. So, okay, these are the kind of people who are getting into it. With crypto, anybody can trade, if you have any bank account. So, and that's the challenge. But Web3 in general is not really changing anything. If you go to OpenSea, you see the same fundamentals of UI you'd see on, I don't know, any other platform where you buy art, DeviantArt or whatever, So it's basically, the concepts stay the same no matter what tech comes in. The concept will always stay the same.
Yeah, so like the reason why I wanted to know your thoughts on this is because like I was sort of thinking about this, right? And how Web2 is like right now, it is mostly governed by these multimedia, social media corporates, these giants like Facebook, YouTube, and how the infinite scroll was literally invented to garner more attention so that you could get more clicks. So that is basically the concept of Web2. So I was thinking, let's say if people catch up with it, if awareness is spread and like people catch up with Web3 and Web3 becomes a thing, the need for that infinite scroll is gone. So that is bringing some change in the design industry if you think about it. But like I think I agree with you when you say like the principles will still remain the same, the methodologies will change, I guess. Like
just I have a question for you. How would Web3 eradicate infinite scroll?
Yeah, because
What's the guarantee that tomorrow the founder of TikTok says, "Fuck it, we're going decentral." We'll put ads anyways. We'll use some other method of data collection for us.
Yeah.
It's still TikTok. You're just changing where you're hosting information on. You're not hosting information on servers in California. You're hosting information on servers all over the world. You don't even know where it's being hosted on. So like decentralization doesn't mean that big companies cannot take advantage of it. Yeah, it will eradicate things like, okay, they cannot collect information to sell ads and stuff like that, but they'll find a way. They'll find a way. If you say post something on a Web3 based application, people can still see it. People can do research, manual research. There'll be a software tomorrow which can go through people's profiles and things that they like doing, even if it's on a Web3 interface or on a Web3 server. So decentralization, I just feel it means nothing because big tech will always find a way. And honestly, I would rather have my information stored on Google servers and be sold weird ads all day, as compared to being on some weirdo's desktop somewhere where he cannot decrypt it. I get it. Like I get the whole, okay, it's encrypted and you cannot decrypt information which is on a blockchain and all that. I get it. I get the thing, but I am losing nothing by giving my information to Google. गूगल का बंदा मेरे घर पे आके मुझे रात को तंग नहीं करता है, वो इंफॉर्मेशन रहती है. आई डू नॉट गेट, सी टू बी ऑनेस्ट, people who are halla ballooing about Web3 are people who are earning money from that. There is nobody who is supporting Web3 right now who is not making money from those concepts. आपको 10 लोग मिल जाएंगे जो आपको क्रिप्टो के बारे में सिखाएंगे और आपसे 1000 रुपए ले जाएंगे. But that's the only reason they're supporting it. How many models are there on Instagram who are selling Doge? There was this wave of semi-nude models on Instagram who are trying to push Dogecoin. And I'm like, what? So it's it's just people making money off of it, and it's always going to be like that. So decentralization, again, I don't get it. It's okay. I mean, get it technically. I don't get it. I mean, psychologically.
I mean, I get your point. Like, so your point is basically you would rather trust a well-reputed organization with your data rather than a random person who is just mining with his. Yeah, I get it. I mean that makes sense. Yeah. So yes.
I'm sure people are triggered, but still.
Yeah. So moving on to our last segment. We had like a whole hot takes, and it was a really nice conversation in a second session. But the third one, it's a this or that, or kind of a rapid round kind of thing. So I'll be starting with the questions now. So what do you prefer, Android or iOS in the terms of design?
I got both, so fuck it. I mean, so I always liked Android for the freedom, but then I hated it for the freedom also, because in college and school also, I used to spend hours trying to customize my home screen, watching videos on YouTube and KWGT widget and stuff like that. ये सब कर करके दिमाग खराब कर लिया मैंने. So I was like, I just need something simple for my day-to-day use. So my daily use is this, the iPhone. That's I don't care about how it looks and how the interface, whether I can change it or not. But I mean, I like iOS a little more because I just feel everything is so fine-tuned and so just easy, like you forget about it. And also the ease of use across devices. If I'm doing something on my iPhone, it goes onto my iPad and it goes onto my Mac without anything. Like on my Samsung, I have to install Dex and then connect it, and Dex has a bloody update every 3 days. So it's a headache to be able to use Android as an ecosystem, but with Apple, it's like I got these Beats which connect like AirPods to my iPhone, but it needs an external app on my Android. So that's again, I know that Apple has done that; it's responsible for that. But I just feel it's easier to use an iPhone and to get things done, especially if you don't want to like customize 10 different things on your phone. It's just easier, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely iOS gang. I don't know about Pryo, but yes. Uh,
Prayol looks like someone who's an Android fanatic for sure.
I recently got a Mac, and what I did is I didn't want to shift my whole thing to Mac OS, iOS. So I was like, I set it up, I closed it, and got out my ROG again because I was more suited to Windows. So I mean, yeah, I
I
have an
get that.
Android phone. Yeah. So yeah, moving on. Next question. Swiggy or Zomato?
I got both again, I guess. See,
But yeah, which one do you prefer?
I don't care about the deals, to be honest. I know a lot of people, they search the same thing on both the applications to find the best deal, do rupees bachane ke liye. But I don't care even if I get no discount for the rest of my life. Uh, I'd say experience-wise, Swiggy for sure. It's just easy. It's just nice to use. Zomato is everything in one place. Like har cheez to CV. So, and also Swiggy has Instamart. So I get like if I have a busy schedule, I just order groceries from Instamart. Zomato had something like that, but now they've like shut it down. So my main reason to now use Swiggy is because I use Instamart, and then because I use Instamart, I just open it for food as well. So whenever I do order food, I first thing is definitely Swiggy, but then there are some restaurants which are only on Zomato. So for that, I'm just going to Zomato.
I feel like recently, I think Swiggy has changed a bit in their UI as well.
Yeah.
I saw it the other day, and like I really found it really interesting.
Like
with the whole, they went with the whole 3D thing and all of that a little more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty great. Other than that, another thing that a lot of UI UX designers have. Would you prefer Figma or Adobe XD?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Of course, Figma. See, like Adobe XD supported me a lot. Like Adobe in general supported me a lot. They used to share almost every second video of mine on Twitter, on their websites and everything. So I really appreciate them for doing that. But I know they're a money-making giant. So I think a year ago, I think only they kind of shifted everything to Creative Cloud, and now it just sucks. Like everything needs to like they need to make sure every bloody feature is embedded inside Creative Cloud. So they aren't even introducing things like pages and essential stuff that every other tool has and people really need. Is they're not focusing on that. They're giving us little animation updates. I'm like, I don't care about the animation. Just give me pages. Just give me better. Just give me better states. Give me animation between states. Like just do something useful. So definitely Figma. Figma over Sketch also. Like I know there are a lot of Sketch fanboys who still exist somehow, but Figma is just it's cross-platform. It's on the web. I don't even need to worry about it installing it, to be honest.
I personally started out with Figma, and honestly, I've never wanted to go anywhere else. There's never been anything, at least in UI UX and all of that. I would never like go to some other thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so moving on. This was my favorite one. I want to know which one do you prefer or which one do you like more? Google's Material UI or Samsung's One UI 4?
See, I'd have to say I've always had a little soft spot for Google's UI ever since Nexus 4 or 5. So I always wanted a Nexus phone when I was in college or even when I was in school. I was like, I want a Nexus phone because it's just so nice, it looks so nice and so minimal. So I never got a Nexus phone because first of all, Nexus 6 was shit. But even with the Pixels now, they're okay. But even initially, the Pixels were terrible. But the software, the fact that it's Google software and Google's phone, so everything is so well made like the iPhone. Like since Apple has all the control, they can make it very well. So I just feel Samsung has improved a lot. I still remember using Samsung, like what was that called? I'm forgetting the user, the UI. क्या था यार? TouchWiz. Yeah, so TouchWiz was terrible. So with their whatever UI they call it, I think they've improved a lot, but definitely I'd go for a Pixel any day, to be honest.
Okay, one last one before we end it. DC or Marvel?
Oh God, you see, everything is so controversial today. Okay, see, I watched the new Batman. It was nice. I really liked it. The people hating on it, but I really liked it because it was more of a psycho thriller than whatever your general Batman. But uh, I'd have to go for Marvel because of the sheer volume. DC does a movie like once in like 3 years. I just wish if they had more volume, maybe I would just be 50-50. But like Marvel makes 5 movies a year and like 6 series a year or whatever. So I'm just more invested in watching Marvel stuff than say DC stuff.
Yeah, I think Marvel has more binge material. You can
Yeah.
see. Yeah, makes sense. Can
I think that's pretty much the end. It was really fun talking to you, Punit, and I hope our listeners had a fun time too and have something that they can take back home.
For sure.
Yeah. And
Again,
I hope
thank you guys
Yeah.
for inviting me and being such great hosts. This was a nice session. All the other sessions are the same old boring stuff. So this was a nice change for sure.
Thank you. And I hope you would be nice to record another session with us if we run out of speakers in the future. But
for sure. I won't come to you guys if you run out of speakers. I'll come if I'm just a part of one of those speakers.
that was just a joke.
Yeah, that's just a joke.
I know.
We were very pumped because we both are designers at this chapter we work at in college to have you, because we sort of follow you a lot and like see your videos. They're very helpful. So we were really excited to have you. So yeah, we'll definitely love to have you again. If you agree to come, it would be great. But yeah,
awesome, man. I always agree to come, to be honest. I rarely say no to these things.
That's very generous.
But thank you so much. Thank you for taking your time out that one on a Monday. Yes, thank you so much, Preet.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for hosting me. Thank you very much.
Yes. So just GSK.
Yeah, I'll just end the stream now.
Yeah.